I'm the education coordinator for the Hunter Museum of Art, and today we are going to be learning how to make posters. And these posters are going to be based off an issue that you find that's important. So that can be anything from recycling to fixing potholes to protecting endangered species, just whatever you feel passionate about. I'm going to be making my poster today on the importance of native grass because I'm a Texas girl and Texas has some beautiful native grasses that I think are deserving of a lot of respect and should be cultivated and protected. And how we're going to be making these posters is using a simple printmaking technique. Instead of using wood or linoleum block prints like you typically use for printmaking, we're actually going to be using a really cheap and widely available alternative, styrofoam, specifically styrofoam plates. So to get started, I am going to cut the rim off this plate to make things a little easier. It's best if everything's nice and flat. Just nice. And once I have it cut, I now have a nice flat plate to serve as my printing plate. And I'm going to take a sheet of printer's paper, lay it down, lay this on top, and I'm just going to trace out my plate. This is just to help make doing the design a little bit easier so you know how much space you have. And now that I have that traced, I'm just going to cut it out. And this is where I can draw my design for my poster. So I'm going to go ahead and write some words on here. If you're planning to do words on your poster, an important thing to remember about printmaking is to always write everything backwards. If you write it, everything gets reversed when you are printmaking, so if you write it the correct way when you're planning out your design, it will end up being backwards on your final project. So you start off writing it reversed. And then I'm going to take some painter's tape and just tape the sheet of paper to my styrofoam plate. And then I will do the fun of etching my design in the plate. And you can do this by taking a pen, a pencil, a toothpick, anything that's kind of sharp, and going over your design. This will make an impression in the styrofoam plate, and it will make a well where the paint can't go, and you can reveal your design. So I'm just going to go around and do this real quick. You want to make sure you press really, really hard so you make a nice, good, deep indentation in the styrofoam. And it's okay if you tear through the paper or the styrofoam. That's perfectly fine. It'll work just as well. Making holes shows that you're pressing hard enough. If you don't press deep enough, then your design won't show up. And you want to make your lines pretty thick. If they're too thin, you won't be able to see it once you go to print it. And you can even use a stylus to sort of press this out if you have a stylus from a phone or some electronics around your house. And it's a lot easier using the styrofoam plate than it is to use a wood or linoleum block. Those take a little bit of time to go through, and it can be a hassle trying to etch out the design. So now that I have that all etched into my plate, I can take off the tape and the paper. I actually want to make this plate a little bit more square. So I'm going to cut off the sides, below and above my design. And now is the fun part where you actually get to go print. So I actually went ahead earlier and made a couple plates for my poster because I wanted to do several words. So I'm going to go ahead and print these. And I'm just going to lay them down with some protective covering underneath, and then take some black paint, pour that out, and take a nice big painter's brush. You can use a brayer too. A brayer would actually work better, but if you're like me and you don't have a brayer, a paintbrush works in a pinch. And you're actually going to spread the paint evenly all over your plate. And once you have a good amount of paint on your plate, you can take the piece of paper you want to print on. I just have some watercolor paper that I already painted some nice, beautiful native grass on, and I'm going to lay that on top of my plates. And then taking them in my hand, I'm just going to rub the paper and the plates while they're sandwiched together, and that will help transfer the black paint to the poster. And you do this for about a full minute, and then once you peel off, you'll get your word up at the top. And I'm going to do this again with another one. Probably use a little bit more paint this time. And get a little bit more paint. And then brush onto my next plate. This time I'm going to add a little bit more paint. And make sure this lines up where I want it on my poster. Put it in the center. And then going again and rubbing along it so the paint picks up from the styrofoam plate. Once I'm confident that's come up, I can peel, and then I'll see my next word. And then I can go through and do the last one and finish up my poster, the last plate. There's my paintbrush. I think I'll need a little bit more paint. And I chose to do words, but you can do anything. You can make pictures, you can print symbols. Just whatever you want to do for your poster. Now that I have that, my poster is done. And I can hang this up on a bulletin board somewhere. I can also make more posters. The great thing about printmaking is you can make 1,000 of artworks from it. Once you have your plate done, you can just keep printing over and over again, maybe pausing to wipe off some of the excess paint that builds up on the plate, because once it fills in the wells, it doesn't work very well. So after about 3 or so prints, it's good to just wipe off the excess paint. And that's how you can make your poster. I hope everyone who watched today goes and makes your own. And if you'd like, the Hunter Museum would love to see it. If you do end up making your own little poster on, important issues for you, that you share it with the institution, or you place it up on a bulletin board around town for us to see. And thank you everyone for joining today. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon.